Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Just waiting for everybody to get in here in the Zoom room. Bonjour, bonjour, hello. Okay, well, I'll get started as some people roll in this morning. Sego, skana sego kueko. Shania got neon tesas and yo jets gonna get got on my new coat sota. Gonna walk to again. G and circle search territory gonna get it. Hello, my name is Shania. I am Mohawk from Ganawagi and Maya from La Jasha, Guatemala. I live in Vancouver. I'm a student at the University of British Columbia, and I will be your moderator for today. First things first, the work of the Canadian Women's Foundation and that of programs we support take place on traditional First Nations, Métis, and Inuit territories. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet and work on this land. However, we recognize that land acknowledgements are not enough. We need to pursue truth, reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship in ongoing effort to make right with all our relations. If you don't know about us, the Canadian Women's Foundation is a national leader in the movement for gender equality in Canada. Through funding, research, advocacy, and knowledge sharing, we work to achieve systemic change. We support women, girls, and gender diverse people to move out of violence, out of poverty, and into confidence and leadership. Since 1991, our partners and donors have contributed more than $150 million to fund over 2,500 life-transforming programs throughout the country. Some technical details, if you haven't already, please click the interpretation option at the bottom of your screen and select a language channel. We have interpreters working today to make sure everyone's words are translated. So please now select English or select French from the options to ensure a seamless experience for you. There is captioning available today in both French and English. Please visit the chat box for links. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box during the event. We will monitor this box and pose your questions at the end of the session, doing our best to get as many as possible. If you're having any tech issues, please feel free to pop a note in the chat box and we'll do our best to assist you. At the end of the event, there will be a survey available. Please take the time to give your feedback if you can. And welcome to Youth Speak, Healthy Relationships in Communities. Again, I'm Shania, and I'm going to get us started and hand it off to Angela Lavalle. Before I pass the mic to Angela, I also wanted to mention that today we have two vibe checkers named Awa and Tori. And if you're around, both of you, if you could just kind of pop on and, I don't know, give a hands up or something. There we go.
Hi, my name is Awa. I'll be the vibe checker or Gardien du Sentier today with you, with Tori. Our role is to support the community involved in the event and emphasize safer space, non-oppressive communication, and intervene if oppressive power dynamic arise during the event. So we're in charge of listening to the community of participants as well as the organizer regarding their experience during this event. And it's possible that certain issue or situation arise during this event, but some element can prevent them from being communicated directly. So as Guardian du Sentier or Vibe Checker, I'll personally be available until Friday, so tomorrow 6 p.m. if you want to address some issue to me directly or give feedback on the event. And what you share will stay anonymous, and feel free to email me at the following address that I'm going to share in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, Yawa, thank you very much. Now I will introduce Angela. Angela Lavalle is a helper who contributes to her community in a variety of capacities. She is based out of Treaty 1 territory, and we want to thank Diane Wright, one of our guarantees from the Teen Healthy Relationships grant stream, who connected us to her. Angela has been working with various initiatives at the foundation and has been particularly supportive of all of our youth projects. So Angela.
Thank you, Shania, and thank you everybody for allowing this space to acknowledge the formality of honoring our ways of being and knowing, and to make the space to open up in a way that's going to just celebrate your time here. I want to just spend a moment just allowing and inviting you to be present with me as I open a sacred fire for our time together. I have a 3-wick candle, and the 3-wick candle is representative of a lot of work that I do in honor of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit, gender diverse folks. I want you to take a moment to just be with me as I light one of the wicks. And the first wick is to honor the girls, and to honor the girls that not only we have lost, but the girl within you, the girls in your family, and the girls in your community. I want to light the third wick, and including the babies with those girls. That's so essential, the babies. The third wick, to honor the women. So take a moment and just honor yourself as a woman. Honor the women in your lives. Honor the women that were lost. Honor the women that have been harmed. Honor the women that create new sacred pathways and that are reclaiming that space. And I'd like to light a wick, the third sacred fire, in honor of our Two-Spirit loved ones and our gender diverse folks. Take a moment and just allow that space to honor them. If you're that person, if you are Two-Spirited and gender diverse, honor yourself. Take a moment to just be and know that the sacred fire is lit here for you. And I want to invite you, however you feel appropriate, to set some time aside just to be in the moment and just honor and pray. Just to spend a moment feeling grandfather sun on us, feeling that somewhere out there grandmother moon is present, embodying the importance of land and water and our connection to it, and the heart work that you do with and for community. And however you walk and you create sacred pathways, to know that you're not alone. To know that sometimes even if you feel alone, that somebody's wrapping their heart and their minds and their spirit around you. Sometimes we may not feel them. We may not see them, but they're there. Their energies are there. So know that this fire, sacred fire, sits here as we have this time together. And I want to acknowledge and invite you to know that anything that is taught to you today is a form of medicine. Anything that connects you is a form of medicine. Words are medicine. How you take them in and how you present them. And know that I invite you, if some of that medicine doesn't feel right for you, it's okay. Be gentle with yourself and set it aside. Because know that medicine in that moment may not be for you, but it's activating something for somebody else. And take a moment and honor that. And I want to invite you to be present in a way that values your way of being, your way of knowing, your courageousness, and the work that you do to empower, to love, and to break down those barriers, and to stand up and to rise. And that we do that together in a Wasakaman way, meaning it's a Cree word, meaning it leads into a circle. And that you matter, you are loved, and we are here to be with and for you in a way that's honorable, respectful, kind, but yet fierce. And I'm going to be here available through the chat. And I want to invite you, if you need just time, even to chat with me, that I'm here, I'm present, and that I'm here to learn with you as well. So yeah, thank you for allowing this space. And know that I'm with you and I'm not far away. Ekose.
Yamagoa, Angela, thank you very much. And I highly encourage anybody who feels as they need it to connect with Angela in the chat if that feels appropriate for you. And, you know, with our vibe checkers, whatever resonates with you today. So with that, thank you. And I would like to now introduce the folks on our panel. I invite each of them to introduce themselves and share with us whatever they would like. If we could start off with Asha.
Hey everyone, Nadalee was Asha, Nell Nagukuk. My name is Asha. I am from Nagukuk, Tobic First Nation in New Brunswick. I work for Partners for Youth here in Fredericton as the Indigenous Youth Engagement Project Coordinator. At our organization, we offer a variety of different programs. And one of the programs that I work on here is Making Waves. This program, we go into schools, communities, and we gather groups of youth and talk about healthy and unhealthy relationships, boundaries, consent, power dynamics, all the fun stuff that goes into having a relationship. Apart from my work, I am also a full-time student. I am attending school for counseling and film. So I'm also a filmmaker and an artist, and I create beadwork on the side, and that's a little bit about me. I'm so excited to be here with all of you today.
Yamagoa, Asha. I'll pass it on to Shelby.
Bonjour everyone. Hello.
Hi.
I am Anishinaabe from Bakajanong unceded territory and Mohawk from Ganawagi in Quebec. And I'm a student at UBC in First Nations and Indigenous Studies with a minor in Environment and Society. And I also am an outdoor educator at Stanley Park Ecology Society, where I work with youth and children and just the public to educate about the environment and just being a good steward. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yamagoa, Shelby. And I'm going to pass it on to La Voix de Jeunesse.
Ok, bonjour tout le monde.
Hi everyone.
Mon nom est Thériane.
My name is Thériane.
Et ça fait quand même longtemps qu'on lutte contre les violences sexuelles, justement.
And we have been working for against sexual violence for a while now.
Puis sinon, c'est ça. Puis on demande, ça fait longtemps qu'on demande une loi instaurée dans les écoles.
We have been asking for laws to be applied in schools.
Pour protéger les victimes et faire assurer
to protect the victims of sexual aggressions of different kinds.
Hello, my name is Samwala, and I'm part of the same collective as Thériane, and we've been part of this collective for over 6 or 5 years, and I'm really excited to be here.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you both so much. I will just say I think there's a little bit of a delay when we speak because some people have translators on. So if you're done and I'm not speaking, feel free to let me know, and I'll move on to a next question or something, just to put that out there. So with that, thank you all for taking a moment to introduce yourselves and for being here today to share your knowledge and help us all learn and unlearn together. I am going to start off our panel discussion with Shelby. So Shelby, what does a healthy relationship look like for you? What type of relationship are you here to speak on more today?
I think for me, when I was like trying to explore what a healthy relationship looks like, I really wanted to look at the own relationships that I have in my own life and just the ways that they have become healthy, or like I have created these healthy relationships. And so in the relationships where I feel represent these healthy relationships, they're the ones that I'm able to show up like wholly, authentically, and it doesn't matter if I'm like not feeling good or if I feel bad about myself. None of those things matter if I can just come into a relationship in a space where like me and these two people are connecting and I can just be myself and show up authentically. That's how I know it's a healthy relationship. And yeah.
Beautiful, thank you. And Asha, if I can ask you the same question, what does a healthy relationship look like for you? What type of relationship are you here to speak more on today?
Hey everyone, thank you for sharing, Shelby. I think that I definitely agree with that aspect of any relationship. I will be speaking on mostly intimate relationships with your significant other. However, I will also be talking about the different relationships in anyone's life. So like your parents, your siblings, your friends. I'm not gonna just focus on one. However, a healthy relationship to me looks like trust, communication, respect, compassion. In any type of relationship you have, you need all of those aspects, and including intimate parents, siblings. You're going to need a combination of all of these to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. And pour la voix de jeunesse, la première question, c'est à quoi ressemble une
My
relation?
question is, what does a healthy relationship look like for you? What type of relationship are you here to speak more on today?
So in general, it doesn't matter if it's lover, family, or friends. Healthy relationships are based on a good connection between two people, based on mutual respect, based on honesty, and also support each other.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Pour la deuxième question,
Now for the second question.
For Shelby, let's just go in that order there, if that works for you all. What major challenges or misconceptions do you believe exist in defining a healthy relationship?
For me, this question for sure, it automatically came to me. I was like, the fact that you don't get shown these relationships, I think is a really big thing, and being raised like not being shown those healthy relationships, what a good boundary looks like, what emotional intelligence looks like, all those kind of things, what respect, all those things, like if you aren't raised in that or like modeled how to like be in healthy relationships, it's almost like when you do get faced with them, whether it's in a friendship or work or a relationship, they can almost feel scary. And like, I know that was my own personal experience for a really long time, is that because I hadn't really had that experience with those healthy relationships, with good boundaries, with all those kinds of things of like being given that like just pure good love and stuff, like not just having to like reteach myself to accept that and to feel safe in healthy relationships is something that I think is a problem with a lot of people, because like if you get in a healthy relationship and you automatically are like, they're after me, this isn't good, like where's the bad, and like you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And I know that was my own issue, is like self-sabotaging good relationships because either you don't believe you deserve them or they just don't feel safe and comfortable. And I think that was, for me, one of my biggest challenges in having those healthy relationships, is just having to reteach myself like what that looks like.
Thank you so much. And Asha, same thing. What major challenges or misconceptions do you believe exist in defining a healthy relationship?
I definitely agree with Shelby on learning all the survival mechanisms that you learn growing up, experiencing unhealthy relationships. But I also think that a relationship isn't always going to be rainbows and butterflies all the time. Unfortunately, people are going to have disagreements and we're going to fight. We're human. We have all these emotions, and that's okay. But the groundwork in the relationship has to follow communication. You have to openly communicate with your partner, with your parents, your friends. If you're allowed to openly communicate, then it'll make the relationship work and the relationship flow really good. And you can also communicate the unhealthy coping mechanisms that you learned in the past, which is really great. I really think that's an important aspect of relationships. And also just being aware that you're going to fight and you're going to disagree with the person that you love, and that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's so important. Pour la voix de jeunesse, quelles sont les principales difficultés?
What are the major challenges or misconceptions that you believe exist when defining a healthy relationship?
So honestly, there's no real definition for a healthy relationship. Unfortunately, we don't talk about it in schools. Young people are often relating to parental education, like how to give a hug with your dad, and relationship with others. And sometimes they rely on what is shown by media support. And most of the time, relationship making compromise with the other is recurrent. So between them, when emotional dependence is officially present, the other could feel in front of the person thinking that he initially owes him something when it shouldn't be like that.
I feel like one of the major challenges are going through a bad relationship to know what a good relationship is, to like know what you should and shouldn't be looking for. So from experience, all the bad relationship that I had, I think it really helped me know what I was looking for, like in good friends. So now I have good friends thanks to the bad relationships. Yeah.
Oui, exactement. Ouais, non, merci. C'est vrai.
Yes, exactly. That's very true. Thank you. And now we go back to Shelby.
Relationships. Why is this conversation and this education important?
For this one, I feel like the conversation it's not an easy one, and bringing it up within any relationship that you have is definitely not easy, especially when you're trying to address maybe some of the like either toxic or negative behaviors that you're identifying in yourself, you know, like so to speak. And like I think for one way that I've approached it is like even just with like my own siblings and my friends, when we get in like arguments and stuff, like it happens, and it's, you know, it's been happening since we were kids, and it's not going to stop happening. We're different humans, and that's what it is. And I think for that one, it's been difficult, especially because growing up with siblings, like you grow up so similar, and then like you branch off and you're so different, and you have different viewpoints and different lives and different ways that you would do things. And so one way that I've managed to like stay grounded in healthy relationships is always coming back to the culture, always coming back to the teachings that we know. And so like one thing is, if I remember me and my sister got in a really big fight, and we needed to have this conversation, but it was so difficult and we both didn't want to, so we just brought out the smudge and we just smudged together, and it automatically just set the mood right, and we were able to like talk and cry and get everything out. And it's those kind of things where when you ground yourself in the culture, in the teachings that you know, and you remind yourself like, hey, creators here, these are like important relationships, these are important topics and important conversations. I think that's, yeah, how the best way to approach these kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I wonder what sister you're talking about. For anybody who doesn't know, she's my sister. One of many. So yeah, but I appreciate that, and it's so true. Yeah. And Asha, I don't know, is there like, how do you approach the conversations on healthy relationships? Why is that conversation and education important to you?
Definitely would start with talking, even having the conversation. I remember growing up, we never had conversations about what a healthy relationship looks like, what an unhealthy relationship looks like. People weren't teaching us in schools, or we didn't have workshops like this. So it's really important to even just create a safe space and start the conversation and allow people to talk and what they think is a healthy relationship and what isn't a healthy relationship to them. So that way we can educate them effectively, and we don't have to suffer in unhealthy relationships to actually appreciate a healthy relationships. Like, I've been in my fair share of unhealthy relationships, unfortunately, and maybe when I was a teenager, if I was talked to about what a healthy relationship looks like, or had a chance to even talk to someone about what I think it is, then maybe that could have been prevented, and I wouldn't have to experience that. And yeah, to know what I don't like, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's all so true. And just, you see that, you know, in our younger panelists today, like, both of you are just so wise, and you have such great emotional intelligence, which is something that we weren't taught in high school. You know, now we're in our 20s learning these things that you both have in your teens, and that's wonderful. And it gives me such hope for the future. But same question to you, like, how do you approach the conversation on healthy relationships? Why is this conversation and education important?
So from a young age, one lies healthy relationship, and these are based on a universal language and trying to deconstruct some stereotype and prejudice in order to standardize the connection with the other person. And for my part, when I heard about healthy relationship, it was when I was in my 6th grade. So of elementary schools, for some culture, healthy relationship are perceived differently than other cultures that may perceive them differently, depending on their generation and how they may think or introduce the subject. So that's it.
That's a very young age. That's incredible. Okay. So my second round of questions here is, what key factors could contribute to building a healthy relationship? What key factors contributed or could contribute to overcoming challenges? Shelby, can we start with you?
Yeah. So again, going back to like what I was saying with the whole like going back to your teachings, going back to like just that center, creator, whatever you believe, finding that in your healthy relationships. And like one thing for me is like in our culture, or like in Anishinaabe, we have like the 7 grandfather teachings, and they're like, you've definitely heard of them. They're everywhere. They're one of those things that's kind of become very like pan-Indian, but I think it still holds a lot of value for me because they really do set out like what, like, I don't even know, just these themes that are so important to life. And so I think when I'm like making decisions, I remember my other sister actually told me this. She's like, I forget how the topic came up, but she was like, when you're approaching things, you can always look at it through the lens of the 7 grandfathers. And so you can say like, is it kind? Is it wise? Is it the truth? Is it honest? Is it, what else is there? Is it respectful? Is it courageous? Is it humble? Is it loving? And then if you approach any decisions you make, any paths you take, any people you meet, anything like that, if you approach it through those lenses, like ask yourself the actual questions before you make a decision and before you say something or anything, it can change things. And it's a really hard thing. It's a really hard thing to learn for myself as well. I'm still unlearning and relearning. And so I think, yeah, I remember hearing that, and I think that is just how I try and approach like healthy relationships, is just through that lens. Yeah. And then I guess for like what could help with overcoming things is just reaching out, is that communication, is like talking about if your boundaries aren't being set, and just like if you are having troubles with someone, maybe seeking out advice from someone else, just knowing you don't have to be in like a relationship and have that be separate and be like, feel like you're like isolated in that relationship. Like you're allowed to seek support outside of relationships. And I think that's really important, because I think in the past when I've had kind of toxic friendships or relationships, I felt super isolated in them. And like, I think that's a very purposeful thing, is like to, when you're isolated in like unhealthy relationships, it's for a reason. It's to like, so that you don't seek support. And so I think the most important thing is just seeking support.
Absolutely, thank you. And Asha, what key factors could contribute to building a healthy relationship? What key factors contributed or could contribute to overcoming the challenges?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but I definitely think the key factors would be communication. It's easier said than done. It's very difficult to communicate how you're feeling, what hurt you, but it's definitely a good practice to have, is properly communicating. Also respect and trust, and also compassion. I think compassion is a really big one. We have to be very considerate of the other person in the relationship, and also try to understand where they're coming from, why they feel this way, and really try to see things from their perspective.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And Lavalle, quels sont les principaux facteurs qui contribuent ou pourraient contribuer à établir une relation saine? Quels sont les principaux facteurs qui...
What are the main factors that contribute to healthy relationships, or what are the key factors that contribute to overcome challenges that can arise in relationships?
So for me, I think that awareness and prevention are the concrete keys to bring about a change in the society. So the values described as empathy, self-confidence, and with the other respect, tolerance, open-mindedness, communication, assertiveness, listening to the other and meeting their needs, but also our personal needs, because it's important.
Like almost everyone said, I think communication is really the key to a good relationship, and being true to yourself and respectful and respecting boundaries and setting boundaries and making sure the other person understands them and respects them and you respect theirs. And also self-confidence is very important, because you need to like be confident in yourself if you need to like speak your mind with either your friend or whoever the person is, to like know your voice and know your importance. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Shelby, what role can organizations, supports play in pursuing a goal of promoting healthy relationships or overcoming challenges around healthy relationships? Are there strategies or approaches you find beneficial?
Yeah, I think this one's hard because I think the number one thing is like opportunities like this where youth have the ability to see or to hear about what healthy relationships are. But I think another thing that could be super helpful is like, or that was super helpful for me as a youth, is seeing successful like Indigenous youth or POC, like whatever it is, seeing it actually in play and meeting Indigenous people who were like in healthy relationships, pursuing their dreams and standing up for themselves, speaking their minds, all those kind of things, being exposed to that and being like inspired was so important to me. But I think something that is the like main thing that I want people to understand is like just how important like having the relationship to the self is. That was what I really like came out of this, is like if you don't have that relationship with yourself, if you can't love yourself and whatnot, like that, it really does need to start there. And I think organizations can help just encourage youth to like find that love within themselves, find that trust, find that wholeness and whatnot. And as for specific like actions and whatnot, I don't really know. Yeah, that's the one that I kind of struggled with, but I'd be definitely interested in hearing what everyone else has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Asha, what roles can organization supports play in pursuing a goal of promoting healthy relationships or overcoming challenges around healthy relationships? Are there strategies or approaches you find beneficial?
So one thing we do at Partners for Youth is we have Making Waves, which I mentioned earlier. We go into communities, we talk about consent and boundaries, healthy and unhealthy relationships. So after that is all done, we get the youth to kind of educate their peers. They've done this through campaigns, poster making, having workshops like this to educate their peers about healthy relationships. I think something like that is super beneficial. I mean, adults can come into community and say, this is a healthy relationship, this is an unhealthy relationship. And sometimes youth aren't going to believe them until they hear it from their peers, right? So I think that's a very important part of teaching others about healthy relationships. And also educating yourself. It's taking the role yourself and going out and trying to learn as much as you can is also a really good tool to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. For Dajwa, Dawa, is there anything you want to add? What roles the organizations and supports can play in pursuing a goal of promoting healthy relationships or overcoming challenges around healthy relationships, and what strategies or approaches do you find beneficial?
So I clearly think that we should put forward social relationship and interpersonal relationship because communication is the key to any relationship. So we should put like emphasis to place how to communicate with others, and maybe like in school create some self-paced to communicate. And yeah, want to add something? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Shelby, what additional activities, supports, lessons would you help further support your community or yourself in building healthy relationships? I know you kind of touched on this throughout, but I feel like there's obviously more we can add.
I don't really know what else to say for this one. Yeah, could you come back to me possibly?
Absolutely, yeah. Asha, do you want to speak on it?
I also struggled with this question. However, I think one thing that can help support is definitely listen and providing that safe space. If a friend comes to you for guidance, don't put down their partner. They may not come to you again. Believe them when they say that what is happening to them is abuse, and don't diminish their feelings or anything like that. But mostly just having these safe spaces and creating the space for them to speak.
And over there, is there some kind of additional activities, lessons, support for you or your community in building healthy relationships?
So I really think organizations should talk about healthy relationship. And in order to help a young person understand the knowledge about this, for example, I had the chance to join a young center with counselors who were there for me to listen to me and have informative exchanges. And as a youth, is it for the reason as a youth collective we denounce sexual violence produced in school, and that we are calling in particular for their schools of a framework law that aims to prevent and combat these forms of violence and that have no place in these institutions.
I think school counselors should be taught about this subject so they can talk about it to the students. And I'm talking like personally for me, I feel like if my parents would have like talked to me about this, then it would have really entered my head. Obviously, maybe from a teacher or a counselor, like my hard head maybe wouldn't have listened, but maybe from my parents, I really would have considered, you know, maybe I should be friends with this person and not this person. So maybe the parents, definitely.
Yeah,
That's
very true. Yeah, thank you. There's a saying that an elder always shared with me, and my mom always uses because she works with youth too. She says, you know, your spirit is always listening. So even if, you know, you feel like you're maybe not grasping it from your teachers or something like that, like there's always a part of you that's listening. So I like that you say, you know, there's different people and channels that you get those teachings from that maybe resonate better with you, but it's nice to have those options. I think that's great. And Shelby, was there anything you felt like adding, or we can move on to another question too?
Yeah, it was basically all I wanted to add was kind of agreeing with Asha. I really think like having more opportunities like this where we have these open conversations and we have these safe spaces where we're allowed to talk about, you know, healthy relationships, like what those look like, how it feels like to be in them. And then also just one thing is like for anyone who's working with like youth or anyone, just having that patience, just like knowing it takes time to unlearn and it takes time to relearn. And sometimes it takes like multiple tries to get to where you're going. And just, yeah, just being patient and believing people, even if like they don't believe in themselves. So important.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there, you know, some kind of way that you feel organizations or program facilitators can talk about healthy relationships with participants? I know we just kind of touched on this, you know, how you both said like your counselors versus your parents and all of this, but is there any other way that anybody would like to add?
I think going back to like just providing examples, like the whole like having youth who are, you know, on the like, who understand the healthy relationships and can communicate that to their peers, having elders who have lived lives and have all this knowledge. I think having that intergenerational and those like connections that otherwise they wouldn't be able to seek out, and like being able to see healthy individuals in healthy relationships, just providing those examples and those opportunities to create connections between those people, I think that would be super helpful.
Asha, anything you want to add?
I kind of lost my train of thought, but yes, I definitely agree with that. And something we put in our program is talking circles, so that way everyone has to speak. Well, not necessarily, but they get the option to speak, which is really great. Also, yeah, connection to elders, connection to land, definitely connection to culture, all that aspects can really help benefit yourself as an individual and your relationships.
Yeah. And Lavalle, is there anything you guys want to add?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it was a lot, but like, can you share with the participants how you would like organizations or program facilitators to talk about healthy relationships?
Well, I think the people who like present when they're teaching us about healthy relationships should know that we reflect on them and like copy them, if I can say. So they should be aware of, should be aware that they're an example for us and like should act right so that we can do the same as them.
Yeah, absolutely. Les gens à l'influence. Ouais. Donc aussi, est-ce que vous pouvez parler de vos expériences?
Can you tell us about your experiences? What type of work you're doing in your community and how you take care of yourself while you're doing this work?
Well, us, we've been like part of our like teaching our community about everything that we learned. And we did a lot of like workshops at our school, in high school and elementary school, about many different topics that we weren't taught about. So I think it's very important to like relate with them so they know that whatever they're going through, we also went through and that it's okay. And really just try to like level with them. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And I don't know, Shelby, Asha, would either of you like to speak on just the type of work that you do in your communities? And kind of how that relates to healthy relationships? Maybe start with Shelby.
Yeah, wait, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, just the type of work that you do in your community and how that relates to healthy relationships and how you kind of take care of yourself while doing that work.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I guess some of the work that I do, like I said, I'm an environmental educator, and that is just kind of like something that I've always enjoyed is like fostering connections between like youth and the land, and just seeing how like youth and children flourish and just like thrive when they're out on the land. That's always been something that's been super inspiring to myself, and has always like just pushed me to do better. And then also I am a dancer and like an artist, and that's something that I also do like workshops with that. I've actually done one with the hub here, and I think that's something that is also important to me. It's like dancing is another way that I practice like self-care, and is another way that I connect with others through like powwows and things like that. Yeah. And so I think those kind of workshops also are there to kind of like inspire youth and reignite that like fire within them, and like remind them that they deserve good things. They deserve to feel good. They deserve to be in the circle with us, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And Asha?
Okay, so the question was the type of work I'm doing in community and how I take care of myself?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've already mentioned the program I worked on. And also the work I do in community also starts with myself. I really gotta unlearn the unhealthy coping mechanisms that I was brought up in. So once I heal that within myself, I could take it to my family and they could learn, and we can all learn together to unlearn. Does that make sense? We can all learn together to unlearn what we learned growing up, right? So yeah, it starts with me, and then hopefully we could bring it to community. And some ways that I take care of myself is I exercise. It's really good to move your body. I bead, so really good to have, for me at least. I really enjoy beading and creating art and just having that moment with just me and the art and nothing else disrupting that. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And just some questions we have here from the Q&A is just someone says, I would love to hear how the panelists want facilitators to speak to them about healthy relationships. So I don't know who would like to start there. Anybody wants to jump in? If no one wants to jump in, I'll start with Shelby.
I'm not really sure like how to answer that. Like yeah, I'm not really sure like where to yeah, I'm not sure if Asha or Taliane or anyone can jump in.
So how we would like facilitators to speak to us about healthy relationships? Okay, one thing I find we focus on a lot is the unhealthy relationships. So like the red flags, we see that all over Facebook and all over Instagram and TikTok. But one thing I find, in my experience at least, is that we don't tend to focus on the healthy aspects of relationships. So like this is a green flag and this is good. Like, so really just promoting that. I mean, people can know unhealthy relationships like the back of their hand, but if they don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, then they could still fall into an unhealthy relationships. So definitely modeling what a healthy relationship looks like, and not just like lectures, like just more interactive, I guess. So that way we can really grasp what is being taught to us.
I agree with all of that.
Me too. And Lavalle, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, how you want facilitators to talk to you about healthy relationships.
So I think unfortunately in school they don't talk about a healthy relationship and how to communicate, and I proposed that the government like supposed to add some self-paced in schools and help students to communicate with each others. And that's why as a collective, we fight against sexual violence in school, and these situations should be approached the most intersectional way as possible with the victim and the aggressor. Like so that's why in Quebec and elsewhere. Going to school is important. Every young person should feel safe, listened to, understood, and comfortable coming to any place in their school.
I feel like she said, the school should really talk about it more, since that's where we are, like most often, that's where we feel comfortable. And I feel like social media they have like this image now about like toxic relationship and it being like a good thing. It's something that's attractive. Like everyone wants something that's toxic now. And I feel like those people just don't know what a good relationship is supposed to look like. So I feel like social media could really help maybe those people. So, talking about it on social media would be effective.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you. And we kind of, already touched on this question, but if anybody wants to speak to it, it's comment prenez-vous soin de vous dans votre travail? So how do you all take care of yourselves in the work that you do? I don't know if there's anything else anybody wanted to add, but I can move on to the next one. Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to add also being outside. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, exercise and being outside, really taking time to myself. That's something that I have kind of been neglecting lately because I'm so busy, but yeah, just being aware even when you need that time to yourself and to really take care of yourself when you need to before you burst.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, that question, I guess, was mostly they were really interested to see how Lavoie, how you take care of yourselves, like in the work that you do. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, not to put you on the spot.
I feel like in Lavalle Gen Camp, like our collective, since we're like a group of girls we've known each other for a really long time, even before we were part of the collective, that really helped us like create a strong and good bond. And not only do we work a lot, but we also like do a lot of activities to like take care of ourselves and remember that it's, we can have fun together. And definitely the fact that we're friends, it really helps like us, the working. It helps us work really well together, the fact that we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to add something. Like, it's not the same person. Like, if we have an event, it's not the same person who's talking. Like, it depends. It depends on the moment, and every time we should contact each other to know what's happening. Yeah, those things happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. That collectivity and that community you all have together. So valuable. So another one we have is, who are all the people who need to be engaged around healthy relationships, and what would you say to the youth listening? I want to start with Shelby.
Sure. Yeah, I guess everybody needs to be engaged around healthy relationships because they affect every relationship. But specifically, I wanted to the part of what would I want to say to the youth listening. I just want to say, you're so worthy of healthy relationships, of good love, of kind love, of all of those things that you want and you deserve, and it's out there. I remember when I was a youth and or when I was younger, just not knowing what was out there and not believing that there was good stuff out there. But it is I know it's been said so much, but it truly does get better. If you don't have those connections or those healthy relationships in your life now, you can still foster them, and you can still learn and unlearn everything you need to. There's no time limit. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still making mistakes and trying to better them. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Asha. Anything you want to add?
Shelley pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Everything you said was on point. Definitely everyone needs to be engaged and talking about healthy relationships, and yeah, get the conversation going. One thing that I wish we had here today, I'm so glad to see all these powerful women. It'd be really nice to have a male perspective as well for our youth too. But apart from that, yeah, basically, if I had to say anything to the youth right now, is that you can unlearn these toxic traits that you had to develop because you're in survivor mode. And it's okay that you're not sure what you're gonna do, or yeah, basically you're worthy. That didn't come out the way that I wanted to, but I guess it's authentic, right?
Absolutely. And Lavalle, is there anything you want to share? I don't know if you're trying to speak, it's muted.
Yeah.
Non?
Ben, en fait, ben, je vais aller en français, là, mais comme...
I'll speak in English now. In French, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Ça serait bien que y ait des ressources mises en place parce qu'en ce moment,
It would be good to have resources
il n'y a pas de
put in
ressources
place
dans les
because right
écoles.
now what we see is that there's a
Puis
lack of
les jeunes
resources
ont
in
vraiment
schools.
besoin d'être soutenus. Genre, c'est pas juste le fait
And the youth needs to be supported.
faut vraiment l'accompagner.
We need a real accompaniment. It's not just listening and then
jeune
going.
avec une agression. Puis,
When a youth lives through some kind of sexual assault, this accompaniment is vital.
Attendez, laisse-moi penser là.
And let me think for a second.
I think it's important to have, like Asha said, like a male point of view, so that, because women and men don't necessarily go through the same thing, but it's important that we know that, you know, we're both going through something. We mostly focus on women, but I think that, you know, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. But yeah, definitely intersexive point of view is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, merci.
Thank you.
And another question we got was, can you speak to the importance of connecting Black and Indigenous youth together in spaces like this? So I don't know who would like to start. Shelby? And work our way down.
Yeah, I think it's very important because there's a lot of overlap in like our experiences. Like obviously they're very distinct, but I think that there's a lot of overlap, that there's so much connection that can happen between our separate communities, just because of like the similar experiences and whatnot. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that can look going forward in spaces and like, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my internet cut out there, but I'm sure what you shared was great. Asha, I don't know if you want to add, do you want to speak to that at all?
I don't have much to add. I do definitely think it's important connecting Indigenous and Black people. Yeah, just to reiterate what Shelby said, we have such similar experiences, and having spaces where we can talk about issues that we have faced and hear perspectives that we can relate to is super important.
Actually, if I could, sorry, I don't mean to jump in again, but I actually just like as a youth myself, like I remember a lot of the programs that were for Indigenous youth, like there was only, I think, 3 other Indigenous youth in my high school. And so we ended up just like merging with the like, I don't know what it was called, like Change Your Future, but it was for like students of color. And so we ended up just merging our programs together, and it ended up being such a wonderful space. We had like our own like school, a classroom that we could all go to. We had our own teacher who was there to support us. She was a Black woman. She was amazing. She supported all of the Indigenous youth, all of the Black youth. It was really amazing. And that space is honestly one of my most cherished like parts of my like high school experience, just because it was like a safe space. I could go there away from my teachers who, you know, might have been saying some like really terrible stuff, and I could talk to youth who understood it because they were also going through it. And the teacher was like a Black woman herself, so she'd been through that stuff, and I could come there with tears flowing down my eyes, and she'd be like, I got you, girl. And I'd be surrounded by all these Black and Indigenous youth, and it was, yeah, it's invaluable, truly.
Absolutely, thank you. And Lavoie, is there anything you want to speak on?
I feel like Indigenous people and Black people have a lot to learn from each other, and like they said, they have like similar experience, so sharing them could be beneficial in many ways. I personally, unfortunately, very sadly, don't have Indigenous friends, but from what I can see online, I think it would be really interesting to like, talk with them and discuss about life, I guess. That's all. That makes that.
Je vais dire pourquoi, mais je trouve aussi que comme qu'elle a dit, ce serait vraiment important.
Like she said, I think it would be very important to
connecter, genre, autant, peu importe les personnes de minorités visibles,
it would be
que
important to connect people, visible minorities together, be it Black youths or Indigenous youths, because all of this is important for the diversity of the conversation.
Il y a plein de questions ici.
There are a lot of questions here.
Let's just find my spot here. So one of the questions I think would be nice to touch on is, en fait, plusieurs pratiques alliées peuvent être adoptées afin de mettre.
There are a lot of allyship techniques that can allow to create trust, that can create trust in LGBTQ victims of sexual violence that want to reach out to a service and are looking, and they're looking for help in issues of discrimination through the judiciary process. I don't know if Lavoie wants to, maybe you want to talk about this, or Shelby, maybe you want to talk about this question?
I'll ask it in English too, just for Asha too. There are several allied practices that can be adopted in order to make LGBTQ people feel more who have experienced sexual violence to use a service and to support them in the event of discrimination in the legal process. So,
can I add something?
Yeah.
Okay. Je crois que c'est complètement important de.
I think it's very important to allow people of the LGBTQ community to be
dans la même section.
They have to certainly to be included. We can underestimate them because of their sexual orientation. Because these people are also vulnerable. And they live with a lot of stereotypes that are imposed onto them. And so we would like that the law that we are fighting for right now also include them. Exactly. Thank you very much.
If not, we have more questions. Okay, so there's two. There's a question specifically for Asha about how do you reconnect to some more traditional practices or art practices if you don't live close to your community and family?
Oh, that's an awesome question. So I recently joined a drum group here at my university, and it's every Wednesday, and I love it. It really connects me to my culture, gets me singing, and also connects me to a group of people where I feel safe, which is so important, especially when you're far away from home. Going to powwows, like in Ferguson, I'm surrounded by 3 Indigenous communities. So I can go to their ceremonies that they hold in community, their events, so like their powwows or their other drum groups. And also, I mentioned that I beat, so I'm gonna mention it again. That really just connects me to my land and my culture. The land and my culture, sorry, and also the people and other Indigenous people. So when I'm posting my work and stuff, a lot of people will message me and we'll just have a conversation, which is really nice, especially, yeah, being 2 hours away from my home community. I'm so thankful that I have these other surrounding Indigenous communities around me.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that as someone who's living on the West Coast and is from Ganwagi and then also from Guatemala, like my communities are not close by at all. So it's nice when you have those, when you make community in other places, right? And then Shelby, I have a question specifically for you. Is si tu peux parler, if you can talk about the sorry, it's a it's a question that's written in French and I have to translate it to English. Can you talk about the work, the intergenerational work, and how you do that with youth? The intergenerational aspect of your work, I guess, is how.
Yeah, so like specifically not at my job right now. I don't do a lot of that work just because I'm not in the planning process. But I did have another position where I was a community garden coordinator. And so I got to do a lot of programs that way with community. And in that way, I got to facilitate like youth nights where we would have different elders or knowledge keepers come in and they would share like how to make salves, or we would have drumming circles certain nights. And it was all held within this like community garden where people could come and also learn about like the plants, and they could get their own plants or they could have their own plot if they wanted. And so I think having the elders come in and whatnot and share that knowledge in a space that's like that is just, it's very important. Like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if anyone else can speak to how like important that is, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything there. If not, I have another question here. And I'll start specifically with Davwa because I think this speaks well to you, and then we'll move on to Shelby and Asha. But can you speak a bit more about being youth activists, and is there any calls to actions that you have for any of our participants, or in your work? What are your calls to action?
Ben, en gros, en 2018, on a été dénoncer les violences sexuelles dans les écoles.
Well, in 2018, we started talking about the problem of sexual violence in schools.
Puis la CSDM avait mis en place un protocole, mais le
And the school
protocole n'a
board
jamais
here
vraiment été
had
appliqué dans
this
les écoles.
plan
Donc,
that
ça
they
veut dire
talked
que
about, but it
il y a
wasn't
des agressions qui
ever
ont été
really
commises dans
put
les
in
écoles jusqu'à
place.
aujourd'hui encore.
And it's something that still hasn't
Que
happened.
moi, en tant que... Puis en tant que témoin, ben, j'ai beaucoup d'amis qui ont vécu des violences sexuelles, puis c'est quand même dur, comme dans ta tête, tu te dis, tu dois les supporter.
And I was a witness, and I have a lot of friends of mine that lived through these experiences of violence, and it's very hard to see this lack of resources in schools.
Puis ensuite, on a eu plein d'événements, plusieurs
And we
panels,
had different events.
plusieurs rencontres
Also,
aussi.
we We
avec des
had different
personnalités
meetings
publiques, puis
with
aussi
public figures and
avec le gouvernement aussi,
we had also meetings
avec
with
des députés
government
aussi,
officials.
Tarana Bird, je sais pas
We
si vous
talked
la
with Tarana
connaissez.
Bird. I don't know if you know her.
Puis c'est pas mal ça là.
And yeah, that's about it.
Il y a beaucoup de choses, mais
There are a lot of things that we could mention, but that's some of those.
Merci. And Shelby, is there any like you would like to speak a little bit more about being a youth activist and any calls to action that you have?
I guess like one would just be more opportunities like this for that start younger, like where we have these conversations, whether it's in school, whether it's in like after school programs or however it is. I think these conversations need to start younger and need to start, you know, possibly outside of the house, because like if there isn't like healthy relationships at home and like you aren't able to like seek that information out at home, I think there needs to be other opportunities for these youth to access that knowledge and to be able to learn and grow. So just, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And Asha?
This is a good question. It kind of has me stumped. I guess I never really considered myself a youth activist growing up. And up until recently, I was always shy growing up, so I wouldn't really speak up or share my opinions until, yeah, like I said, recently. So I guess in my work, well, obviously I'm passionate about teaching healthy relationships and giving youth an opportunity and allowing them the space to talk about their lives, because I am studying to be a counselor as well. Something that is of my own personal interest, though, is film and how we're represented on film and the stereotypes that are especially on Indigenous folks. So I'm trying to recreate that narrative. I don't know if that would count as a call for action, but that's something that I am currently working on. So yes, I'm okay with that answer.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. And yeah, that's all the questions we have time for today. Unfortunately, there's so many, and you know, I can tell just by all the questions that have flooded in today, the impression that you have all left on our participants today. So thank you all for the knowledge that you've shared, how you've brought yourself into this space, and I really thank you, and I hold my hands up to you all for being here today. And if we could pass it back to Angela to close out our session here today. And Yawagoa, thank you all so much for being here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for all your beautiful energy and teachings. Yeah, just that the importance of relationship to self, relationship to land, relationship to community. It's almost like when you drop a pebble in the water and it has that ripple effect. It begins within you to love and honor yourself. So take that time to honor yourself and know that the sacred fire that was lit for you and the girls and the women, our gender diverse folks, and the babies, you know, the circular motion of that as life carriers, water carriers, that the whole connection today just felt all the beautiful energy. I also wanted to just, you know, remind you, when you have healthy relationships, that we as caregivers and our elders and our knowledge keepers and our leaders, you could also be empowered to set those boundaries with them. Because sometimes there are things that have happened to them and they bring that into those spaces. So to find and be courageous and brave, and that you know, you find people to talk to. Because if an elder or leader does something that makes you feel scared or shameful or bad, follow that spirit within you and know that you can take care of that. And I hope that in some way today that you take care of yourself and find that, you know, that time to sit and be with yourself and to remind yourselves that you are in a healthy relationship with Mother Earth, with Creator, and you know, they're wrapping their arms around you. And again, sometimes we don't feel it. So using that as an example, I really, really appreciate it today. And so I'm just going to closing off the sacred fire right now. And I did offer some prayers and smudge for all of you today. And if that's not how you pray, and if that's not how you do things, know that, you know, if my intention impacted you in a way that didn't feel good, I send my love and apologies for that. And know that wasn't what I intended to do, but I want to honor how that may have impacted you. So just know that I apologize if that has come that way. So the fire is just I'm just setting it out. And the woman didn't want to go out there. All right. So there, the sacred fire is out. I have the tobacco. I'm going to be setting this tobacco in honor of all of you and all of those silent stories as well. And the way that you capture those silent stories with a lot of love and sacredness, empowerment, braveness, humbleness, and strength. And you rise. And you are all my greatest teachers. Thank you.
Yeah, Lavalle, Angela, that was beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And yes, thank you, Asha, Shelby, definitely, Samira, just all of you for everything you've shared with us today. And I hope everybody has a good day and that we're all walking away from this space feeling a little lighter, a little more hopeful, and inspired by these amazing youth that are working in our community across the nation. And that you've all felt as though we've created community among one another today, and that these relations move forward in the ways that you interact with others and with yourself in a good way. So thank you all for being here today and have a great day.